I'm here.
Looking good.
Hey, Jimmy,
Yes, sir.
All right, Mr. Chairman, you are live on YouTube.
what
All right.
what is he, when he said he's going to take it to the public, what's that?
We have to broadcast it live on YouTube. Nobody watches it. You won't have any viewers, but
Always nice to know.
it's just like anybody can come into the to the meeting. We can't have a closed meeting because of the Open Meeting Act. Here, Bruce. Give me a second, just doing attendance. Steve. All right. Once again, I'm Councilman Jim Ringsocker. I'd like to welcome you all to the Havre Marina Commission meeting for November 18th, 2020. I did get the agenda posted online for everybody, and I see somebody else just joined. Who is that?
It is
This is
caller.
Tim Whitty.
Oh, it's Tim.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
Tim Whitty.
Hey, Tim.
Yes. Hey.
All right, so I did get the agenda posted online today. But if you guys didn't see that, it is roll call, minutes from the previous meeting. Then we're going to give the floor to Warren Hartenstein from the EDAB. And then we're going to get an update on the new fuel tanks and discussion of the boat ramp envelopes. And next discussion on electronic launch fee station at the Marina I've been discussing, old business, and then adjournment. So I'll start with the roll call. I have me, John Narvell, Paul Sobis, Warren Hartenstein, Bruce, Steve, Robert Andrews, Steve Lay, and Tim Whitty. Did I miss anybody? All right. So Adam, if you can put up the minutes from the previous meeting. We did vote on them after I wrote them up, sent them out to everybody. We all agreed that they were fine as per the requirements of Open Meetings Act.
Excuse me. The minutes are in the group chat if everyone can refer to that.
Okay. So we did vote on them earlier, but he's putting the minutes up in the chat. We don't need to vote on it because we previously voted on it and approved the minutes from the previous meeting. We had no outstanding business from there. So I'll move on to the next item. The next item, I'd like to welcome Warren and Paul, both from Economic Development Advisory Board. They've been asking to meet with the Marina Commission about some ideas that they have for the future moving forward. So, Mr. Hartenstein.
Thank you for hosting us. Over the course of the, I guess, past year, we've had various levels of interest. We did meet with George Hardy at one point and the director of the Marina. They attended an EDAB meeting and talked about, in general, the feeling that from an economic development point of view, the Marina had perhaps greater potential than it might, or there might be ways that it can deliver a greater potential economic benefit to the community of Havre. So with that in mind, we started to just work, discuss, compare, do various things, talk to people, talk to voters. And, but the point is, I guess, with that in mind, we really, I think, come to you because we're the outsiders. Paul Sobis chairs our group. Robert Andrews is actually with the county, but has been a very active member as liaison to the Economic Development Advisory Board. One other member, Malcolm George, has a St. Patrick's Financial Committee meeting tonight, so he may join us later. So, Paul, you want to pick it up from there?
Sure. Like Warren said, well, first of all, thanks, gentlemen. Thanks for letting us participate tonight. Really appreciate it. As Warren was saying, Steve Gamatoria and I guess on behalf of Mayor Martin wanted us to get with you guys, start some dialogue, potentially work with you guys, and what can we do to perhaps have the yacht basin assist the city in improving the economic health of the town. And I guess more specifically, that may mean how can we attract some additional visitors to the yacht basin? Maybe some more transient boaters. Maybe higher dollar SIP holders that may want to spend more money downtown. What can we do to maybe drive more business from the marina into downtown? And what would that take? Would we have to perhaps add more value for the existing SIP holders by enhancing the amenities or the overall experience for the yacht basin users? Just things like that. We're not really sure where to go. We our initial point of view is that the yacht basin is pretty nice. It's a nice marina. It's in a great location. We went down there and walked through it, to Warren's point, and it looks like the infrastructure is in great shape. I mean, we're not experts, that's for sure, but it looks like a pretty nice marina in a nice location. And how can we, is it possible? Is it realistic to expect that we could make it more of a jewel for the city? Make it that much nicer. It seems like the city's kind of really morphing into a pretty neat little town. Maybe the marina can kind of morph along with it. If that's you think is a reasonable direction or a reasonable approach. And feel free to jump in anytime. But when we met with Mr. Doherty, and I'm not sure if you guys were at that meeting. If this was a while back, he said that the yacht basin had a target market for local boaters, Havre Grace people. I think his words were he wanted it to be a blue collar marina, and we looked at it, and I believe it was an information that he provided to us. It may be a blue collar marina, but it's not really being utilized a whole lot by Havre Grace residents. It looked like about 62 of the slips were occupied by Havre Grace residents, and the rest of them were people from outside of Havre Grace, which we thought was kind of interesting.
Pennsylvania Navy.
Yeah. So, that, and along with it does look like there's a lot of transient boater activity, which, may be desirable for the city. I don't know. We think, we got some people coming up the bay, up the river, whatever, down the river, could come into the marina and park their boats, go into town, spend a little money, maybe these are things that are worthwhile to explore and maybe take advantage of.
Paul, if I might, it's and it's a two-way street. What we also learned is expectations of boaters. Boaters would like to have Wi-Fi. Boaters would like to have secure gates. Some boaters would like to have better lighting. Some boaters mentioned cameras to protect their boats. So there were none of those, by the way, are very expensive, obviously, but the gates might be a bit of an investment, but it was two ways. It was if the marina has more value for the members that use it, the 30% of Havre de Grace the 30% that are Havre de Grace residents and and those other folks, then it's generally it's literally the rising tide lifts all boats. So that was in general, that was the other side of it. How can we also, start with how can the marina what can be done to help the marina be better, but then on the other hand, that flows over to the city and as an economic benefit. Make sense?
Does anybody from the commission have any comments or any questions? John, we can't hear you. Your mic is muted, sir. Somehow, or I don't know if your headphones being plugged in.
Hear me now?
You can, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Wasn't making a good connection. I would ask if Steve could give us an idea of how many events take place during the course of the year that require parking and just the utilization of the macadam.
Well,
Steve,
on a
tournaments
normal
and-
year,
Yeah. Well,
normal years.
Worst case scenario, how often is it being used?
Well, we used to have what? Seafood festival. We've had the carnival, large, large tournaments going on, the art show. But the major one was the carnival, which we haven't had in 2 years? The major one in 4th of July.
Yes.
But I just wrote down, George had a lot of the numbers, but obviously he couldn't be here tonight, but I was looking from July 1 until today. With the ramps, we did almost 2,800 ramps. So that's not too bad because we had a slow start too with everything. Also from July 1 to today, it was over 42,000 gallons of fuel was pumped. So we had a very busy year on the fuel dock. Not so much as transients because we were full this year. So we didn't have anywhere really to put people other than on the ends of the T's. So if there was a real large boat, we could not put them on the end of the T's because it would close up our area, for everybody to get by. So that's what we ran into this year.
So it is.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, one of the concerns that came up as we talked this over with the city is that the Corps of Engineers has been doing the dredging under some limited, without certainty that will go on into the future.
Right.
And so it's relatively expensive process. And, that brings up another issue, and that is what kind of reserves is the city marina building beyond the day-to-day, the great maintenance, really, that maintenance is impressive.
Right.
But
Well, you guys were down there this weekend. It was after we flooded out there. So it's looking pretty bad down there right now, but we took a beating that night. So, but we did apply for money for grants for dredging already. We got those in, but George would have all the numbers for reserves and everything. So we can get those to you.
Okay.
I think one thing that's going to help with bringing transient boats in is once the city gets the trolley, they can travel back and forth because I know that myself, I'm not going to want to sail all the way up to Havre de Grace with my wife, and especially
And then
people
we have to go.
and then then have to walk all the way down, and you're very limited what you can go to. I'm not going to go there just to go to the Promenade Grill.
Right.
I like the cheeseburgers, don't get me wrong, but
right. When I first started here, I tried doing something with Green Street. Put like transient docking, like floating docks out there, a nice system. And I got pushed back by DNR about submerged aquatic vegetation that was protected. So that's where that went. I went a couple other different ways, and they kept shutting it down. And I actually had to give money back that I got a grant for that. So that was kind of disappointing. So, but there's a new crew now at DNR, so I'm kind of working on them with that and just kind of feeling it out a little bit to see if they change their.
It is, Steve, it is very difficult. This
Yes.
is Tim Whitty. It's very
Yep,
difficult
Tim
to
knows.
get these piers in place
Yep.
now. It just is. I've actually looked at that old pier for Steve Gamatori to try to redo it just to see if we could use transient boating there. So it's on the list of getting repaired just to be able to see if we could use that in that nature. Because it's so difficult, there's just there's a tremendous pushback for now they're all about boat ramps, but they're not about piers. I looked at putting a pier at Water Street, and there's a tremendous pushback. You know, they'll allow like floating piers and such like that, but nothing in the nature of a fixed hard, I guess what you call a hard pier. So,
No.
Who manages the piers off the park where the MS Seabreeze was parked and the two slips off the lighthouse? How are those managed?
Well, they fall under the commission, all the piers.
Yeah, it's all under the marina, all the parks and
And
ramps.
to use that, do people have to contact you, Steve, and pay a fee?
For daily use coming in, yeah, the lighthouse pier is really not very usable, unfortunately.
Yeah, that was a hole.
Yeah. And then really the only other place is just people use Gene Roberts ramp, and maybe a small boat, a time or two will come into the lighthouse, but that's nothing like you would say as a transient. It would just be a small boat, John boat or whatever, that just wants to take a break.
I have a question for you. It's a dumb one probably, but I'll ask it anyway. I know that the marina, or I understand maybe correctly, maybe not, that the marina is pretty full.
Yes.
It's not possible, or it's not realistic to identify some of the slips that are currently occupied by slip holders. Maybe in the future, say, hey, these slips are going to be transient slips. Does it work that way, or can it work that way?
No, we prefer to sell them, sell them out. And then if boaters are going to be gone for more than 5 days or a week or whatever, they usually notify me. There's a bunch of boaters. This says in there that, they notify me. Then I could put somebody, in those slips for that period of time. It's usually just a night or two. But we've been using the T piers for that. And, we've had a decent amount this year, but it wasn't. We
noticed this weekend, Steve, you had a PA boat at the end of the 200 pier, and you had there were two apparently transient boats tied up at the end of
both sailboats. Yeah.
Yes.
Little small sailboats.
Right.
Yeah, we had some pretty large boats come in this year, but not as many as we've had in the past. I think people were just, I don't know, they're daily boating, and there wasn't as much transient, this year. I even talked to Jeff up at Tidewater, and he was the same way this year.
What about the boats that are visibly abandoned?
Well, there's a couple in the marina that are under the city attorney right now, so those are probably the ones you're seeing.
Yeah. They're a mess. It's a shame. One of them would be a nice boat, but it's just been ignored.
Unfortunately, I hit a wall with all those, and I turned it over to the city attorney. So it's under April right now.
One other area, and Paul, I'm really stealing your thunder, but one of the areas as we looked at this thing, the density of slips in Perryville, Havre is incredible.
Yeah.
it's an enormous number of slips. It seems like there's a critical mass if there could be a confederation. If everybody got together and, you know, kind of worked on a joint transient program and a joint advertising, down bay advertising program, it can be damn cheap for everybody. But, you know, and I mean, Havre Grace is a pretty attractive place to come
No
to.
doubt.
And we have an enormous volume of slips available. And I'm sure that if you got into that, you'd have private owners at Canvasback and at Tomes willing to participate as well, because
Mhm.
a lot of those slips are unused.
Right.
Anyway, I to tell you the truth, I was stunned in the, what did we do? We talked to 9 different marinas. That's a lot of
Yeah.
boat space.
Yeah, yeah.
So
You know why there's a lot of boat space?
a lot of boats.
No. Did you ask them how much they charge?
Yes, we tracked everybody.
All right, what'd you find?
We found that Havre Grace is the low price leader by far.
That's why we're full.
Yeah, but also Heron Harbor's full at 3,500. I asked him about transits. He says they're not interested because they're totally full. And that was something we got repeatedly, was there's very doggone few transient slips available because everybody's full almost regardless of the price.
I don't believe that. Tidewater Marina is not full.
Tidewater Marina.
Yeah, well, and so is Penn's Beach is not full.
Well, the 5 marinas other than City Marina, we really didn't get. Tidewater full, Heron Harbor full. Not interested really in slips or in transients. I know that Havre Grace is not full, but its location mitigates against it, obviously.
Well,
And
Chris Carlotta owns 2 marinas,
Yeah,
and neither one of his are full.
okay. Well, it'd be interesting to know what the vacancy rate is, but that's you guys, the second lowest rate, you're for a 35-foot boat, you're at $2,030. The next lowest is $3,080. That's Havre Grace Marina. Lee's Marina in Charlestown is the next at $3,337.50. And then it jumps into the 3,500 and above.
Okay, so you said a 35-foot boat, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, well, most of our boats in Havre Grace Park are not 35 foot.
Right. We picked a number because when you look at all the marinas, for example, Heron Harbor, everything's 35 foot. So,
Well,
so we tried to pick a number that was, we weren't trying to pick a fight, and we're not trying to pick on you guys. But what we are saying is there's, maybe there's room for the marina to serve its own customers better and be make a bigger contribution to the economic life of the city. And 30% Havre Grace residents, it's benefiting a whole lot of people that don't live here.
I'd like to make one clarification between, there's two types of dockages. One is a full-service marina, which requires more money to run and they charge higher fees as opposed to a different type of a service that's provided down at the park, just as a way of clarification. And then also you've got something unique to the marina in Havre down at the park. You have the promenade. One end is the promenade. So you have people parking there, which requires a lot of parking spaces, which takes away from some of the, I don't know, the advantages that other marinas might have with the private parking issue with every boat owner we get a slip. You're not guaranteed a slip at the park, or excuse me, not a slip, a parking spot.
Right.
So there's some advantages and some disadvantages. The price is lower because there's certain things that aren't offered there. And as Steve said, we've been very fortunate with having the ability to fill the slips with the prices that we charge.
Is it fuel?
Also, we're the only marina that really accommodates commercial guys. And Steve, you can back me up on this, but I think we get a little bit of free money from whoever to take care of the commercial guys, especially when it comes to dredging. And Steve, you can address that, but that's a plus for us.
That's a big thing for me is I want to make sure that we still have the Waterman and Havre de Grace, that we have the heritage that made Havre de Grace what it is. I don't want us to become Little Annapolis, or Annapolis North, whatever you want to call it. I want Havre de Grace to still keep the Havre de Grace charm. I want my kids to know that they can go down to the dock and see fishermen working and watermen pulling in bushels of crabs and we still have that feel, and that's part of our charm at Havre de Grace is we have that, and it's one thing that the city marina brings is the working boats, and that's one thing that the other places don't have. Now, being the city marina, we're not going to have the pool, we're not going to have the private security, we're not going to have the mechanic services and a few other things. We do have showers, but we do have showers, right, Steve?
Yeah, with full bathrooms.
But as for Wi-Fi, I rarely even use the Wi-Fi at my own house unless I'm in my office because I get better connection than on my cell phone. I don't think that'd be cost prohibitive to provide Wi-Fi as an option that we could tack onto somebody's slip fee if they want it. But I don't like the idea of significantly raising the slip fees because we're not a comparative. It's an apples and oranges between the private and the municipal docks, the slips, and that, like I said, we don't have those services we can offer. I'm not necessarily against, the idea of discussing a slight raise in the slip fees as a metered scale throughout the years that goes up 3% every year like Social Security. I don't know, just being throwing a number out there, but I don't think that a significant change is going to happen to bring us up to the like you said, $3,500 for a big boat like that. I don't think that sort of change is going to happen from our current rate municipally. Now, I personally would like to restrict, the slips and everything to more Maryland residents as well. I don't like being the Pennsylvania Navy, but I think part of that is restricted because of the federal funding we get. Correct, Steve?
Yeah, all that funding. Yeah, whether it's the ramp or the slips, everything. We cannot charge two different prices for Havre de Grace residents, somebody that's from Maryland or somebody that's from Pennsylvania. It's across the board. It has to be the same.
One thing that would help that I'm thinking about is economic development. You brought up the transients. We have a pier that, as most of you know, is useless for docking boats over by the lighthouse. If there's some way that pier could be modified to accept transients, that might be something that where funding would be available through DNR or other funding sources, and make it something that's worthwhile other than just sitting there and letting the birds roost on it.
I did see a flat bottom boat from the Coast Guard dock there
Yes.
back at fireworks.
Well,
Oh.
if somebody who has some pull can get the powers to be to let the city of Havre Grace run floating docks off of the streets that the city owns, like was brought up earlier, for transient people. Now, if you guys want to put some energy into that, yeah, you're putting them right downtown Havre
Right in
Grace,
the middle.
where the restaurants are and everything else is.
You can blame
We
Mary
have
Ann Lasanti for that.
Whatever. We have tried long before all of you know anything that's been going on down there. And we have not been able to get whatever it's going to take to run some kind of launch, or not launching ramps, but floating docks out there where there's decent water. That if you guys talk about these 30-some foot boats, you got to have water to float them.
Mhm.
And then after the summer's over with, what do you do with those floating docks? Maintenance, you got to bring them in. So all that has to be taken into consideration for a lot of questions that you all have. You all have good, you have good questions. But there's very few that haven't already been addressed over the years. I mean, like a lot. But we'll listen again.
Well, one of the reasons we were charged with looking at it is there was a study done 10 years ago, and I guess the marina was not in great shape. And there's only one copy of that study. It's in Paul's possession right now. And the marina was really, now it's gotten, it's much more balanced. But
Is that the one that Steve Gamatoria did?
yeah.
I've got a copy.
Yeah, that's the audit that Steve did 10 years ago or whatever.
Right,
How long?
10 years old.
Things have changed.
Right.
Hope so.
We could have taken a 20-foot boat. And to tell you the truth, we would have ended up with a worse look for the city marina, because most of the places have a minimum charge. One of them has 1,800. Another one has 3,500. What we tried to do was move it up only for comparison purposes, to normalize it, to make it work as a formula. If you want to talk about a 20-foot boat, city marina is going to look worse. There's one, undercharge more. The last one other thing, and I'm certainly not trying to be argumentative with you guys. We were charged by the city to come to you and talk about this. If one of the things I think City Marina has to look at, and we're mostly out of the business community, I assume most of you are, is it, one of the things you have to ask yourselves is, you're competing with the private sector with a product that is underpriced. Is that right? Those people are paying taxes in the city. So, you've got to ask that question as well. So it's a whole big constellation.
I tell you what, I'll share a little conversation that Steve Gamatoria had with Alan Fair. Alan Fair told Steve, you need to raise the prices down there. And you know what Steve told him? You need to drop your prices because you're empty. And you can ask Steve about that.
Well, Steve's the one who put us to work to come to you guys and say, hey, a 10% increase would result in $70-some thousand a year that could be used as reserve and to enhance the facility. That's the dimensions you're talking about. You're talking about raising a 35-foot boat by, if you said over 2 years, 20, in effect 20%, you're talking about $400. Is that going to break a 35-foot boat owner to be at $2,480? Probably.
I don't know if they raised your taxes where you live, would you be a little concerned?
I'm sorry, Steve.
If they raised your taxes where you live, would you be a little concerned? This is not taxes now. This is just a price increase on anything.
Well, you have to pay the taxes. This is, if you don't like it, you don't have to pay it.
Well, if I have a choice of being at a marina that offers services for the same price, I'm going to go where I get better service for my bigger bang for my buck. So you may end up driving people out of the marina. I know you're trying to increase the revenue, but I think over the years, Steve has done a good job at doing that balancing act. And I agree with you. It's a double-edged sword with competing against private enterprise. But the city needs to cover its expenses. It's never been a real big moneymaker, and a lot of times it's been an albatross around the city's neck. So I don't know if there is an answer. Just you want to keep the marina full as filled up as you can, and right now offering an attractive price seems the way to do it.
Yes, I guess.
Here you go. My question is this: let's say all this additional money comes in based on what everybody's thinking. We're an enterprise fund.
Exactly.
That money has to go into the marina.
Yeah.
You can't take it out of there. Okay? There's only two enterprise funds in the city of Havre.
We agree.
Okay? So if you come up with a businessman idea that we're gonna make all this money for the city of Havre Grace based on what we do at the marina, you can't touch that money.
Well, it could be reinvested back into the marina, that's for sure. I guess the point Warren was trying to make was, and he was making it very well, is that if I just did a back of the napkin type calculation, if you raise the rates by 20%, that would generate another $75,000 annually for your enterprise fund that could be reinvested back into your marina. And at the same time, your rate would still be 20% lower than the next lowest competitor. I'm a businessman. To me, that makes a lot of sense. And I really don't know, you used the point about taxes. This isn't taxes. This is a service, an optional service. And I'm not really sure a lot of these guys, if you raise their rates, I'm not really sure they would run. You would know that better than me. But you want to be competitive. You can be the lowest price if that's the strategy you want to have. But you want to be competitive, I think, too.
And you want to maximize the product. But one other thing that we got. Okay, Steve, you said that you've got 3 boats in April's hands. We get, you walk up to this guy, he's got a great looking boat. And he says, the guy next to me has never taken that boat out. In fact, people are fishing on it every weekend, standing on it fishing. Now, the question he posed was, if that boat catches fire and burns my boat and burns the dock, what is Havre Grace's responsibility?
But they're all required to have their registration and their insurance and their policies.
Well, you got a lot of folks that don't have, we booked them all, and you got a lot of folks that don't have current registrations on their boats.
Well, right now, because they weren't available from DNR, they don't have their stickers on because no one's got them this year.
2016, 2018,
2013.
2013. And the other thing is, Steve, are they required to put their boat number visibly, like a license plate on the boat?
Yes, unless it's Coast Guard registered boat. That's down
Documented.
below in the bilge.
Documented.
Yeah,
Are you talking
yeah,
about the
Coast
VIN
Guard
number?
documented boat
You talking about the whole
Documented.
number, or are you talking about the registration number?
registration.
Well, the MD number, right?
Yeah, that's the registration.
Right. On my boat, when I had my power boats, I had to have that on both sides of the hull.
Yeah,
I
if it's
might
Coast
have
Guard
my-
documented, no.
Here we go.
It hadn't changed.
That's the current DNR book.
Well,
The required.
walk through and count the number of boats that you will not find the registration number on the hull.
Unless if it's documented by the Coast Guard, it will not
Yeah.
be there.
There's,
Well, you must have a lot of documented boats, and a lot of them are small. Anyway,
I tell you what, I'll invite you down there because I live right up here. And you
Okay.
take me and you show me the boats you're talking about. I'll take pictures
yep.
and we'll correct it. How's that?
we can do a field trip.
Yeah, absolutely.
We did the field trip last week.
I'll do all the work. I'll take you down there. You show me the boats that do not have everything that you're talking about, and we'll take pictures and we'll take care of it.
How
But
about
I appreciate your observation.
How about if we do you one better, we can send you a spreadsheet. It's probably, I don't know, 15 pages long, boat by boat, slip by slip. And
Great.
registration by registration and condition
Wow,
by.
you got that much time on your hands? Great. Well, hey,
That's what
listen,
we-
Yeah,
why
they've
not?
been spending a lot of time down the marina doing a survey.
Right.
Great.
I've been watching them, wondering what the heck they were doing.
And we were just down there on Saturday. We were just down there on Saturday. We haven't spent much time down there. Just came down on Saturday. And
Yeah,
just
right.
Point. No, that's
All right, keep
a
it
fact.
nice.
That's a fact. And then that's a fact. And just another point. I heard about the work boats. Okay, and that's pretty neat. And I sure can't argue with that one either. If that's how you get your funding, then that's how you get your funding. But maybe a lot of the work boats were out when we were down there on Saturday. But I'm telling you, man, I didn't see more than a handful of work boats down there. When I handful, there's 5 fingers on a hand.
How about if we invite you down and all of us get together and we walk the piers, take notes, and try to educate each other?
Happy
On
to
what?
do it. There's a lot of boats out of the water now, Bruce, but yeah, I don't mind doing it again. We did it last Saturday morning. I don't mind doing it again.
I would wait till June or July to do it because there's a lot of boats that have been pulled in the last 4 weeks.
Yeah, every one of these dashes on the spreadsheet shows a boat that's not an open slip. But there's surprising numbers still in the water. I was really surprised. Anyway. But yeah, I mean, if you want to wait till June, July, I guess do that. You'll have your contracts out by then for the next year. So what that'll do, Steve, you remember from the meeting we had before, we were going to ask boat owners about, as the new contracts came up, and it was too late last time we met, and June, July would be too late again. And that was one of the things we encouraged the commission to do, or Steve and George Hardy, when they met with us, was, hey, survey the boat owner. You got a gas dock, and that's a tremendous asset. My brother was in City Marina with a 44-foot Hunter, sailboat on number one, middle of number one for several years. I've been in the bathrooms. They're terrific. They're very well taken care of, the showers. You've got a lot going for you down there. A lot.
Right.
And a lot of people don't have gas stocks. Yeah, Tidewater has a store and it repairs and, all of that. But anyway, there's a lot. You've got some things other people. We did when we started this, try to compare services. It became impossible.
I think we do a tremendous gas and very little diesel, but we do a tremendous gas. We got people from Northeast River, from Port Deposit, from just anywhere, any of the tributaries that come to Havre Grace, because it's a decent place to tie up. They can get some food. The bathrooms are clean, and the prices are right.
Yeah. We do get a lot of day people come in that walk into town or go down the promenade. We always make room for them. We always have a ton of them, along the bulkhead, or we put them on the tees. They walk down, they walk into town. We give them all the information. That's really increased. I've seen a huge increase in that past couple of years, maybe even 3 years now. Just people coming in for the day, like you said, or for a couple hours, or we've really seen that increase quite a bit. But overnight, no, that's kind of stayed the same.
Okay. I'm going to share this with you all. I live there. Okay. Hello.
Yeah.
Did I lose you?
All right.
Okay.
You cut out.
Okay. I live there. I've been there 53 years. I see everything. I see the park. I see the carnivals. I see promenade. I see everything that you guys don't see. And the town has done a wonderful job of sprucing everything up and taking care of people. The amount of people that walk past my house every day with their kids, it's just incredible. And everybody that I worked with down at Proving Ground before I retired, they loved it. And so far, I can't see anything that Havre Grace is doing wrong. And in the last, since Bill's been mayor, there's some things I don't agree with, but I don't know how much more you can do to improve what Havre Grace does for the people outside of town. It's a small town. There's small streets. There's not a lot of parking, but you got to be able and willing to walk. So right down there in the park in the summertime, if you would like to sit on my front porch and see what I see, I invite you down and I'll give you the 29-cent tour, not the 19-cent tour, but the 29-cent tour.
I'll have to say, though, you're going to have to bring your own beer because I bought his kegerator.
Oh, dang it.
Well, with the new trolley coming online, that provides a transportation opportunity out of the marina as well for visitors. So that that would make it easier to get around town. Anyway, again, gentlemen, wasn't our desire or intent to attack the marina. Well, we like to see it be better for the people in the marina, I think, and we think it has the potential to drive additional business. I don't know if you guys know, every major restaurant in Havre Grace is for sale. It's been for sale before COVID-19.
That's not true.
Oh,
McGregor's is not for sale.
McGregor's is for sale.
Is not for sale. I am very, very close to the owner.
Danny? Well,
Coakley's for sale?
And I'm We go way back.
Oh, anyway, not, La Cucina's not for sale, and I think Dort's gonna do a great job with the prices, location, but there's a struggle going on, and there is a struggle going on, and you see the turnover on Washington with businesses. And so part of that formula, part of the fix is to get more money, more people investing more money in Havre Grace, spending more money in Havre Grace. So it's not just the marina. We're looking at what happens with the hospital property up on, in Bully Rock Parkway. We're looking at what happens with the hospital property on Union Avenue. The marina is one of 11 initiatives the city has asked us to report back on by June. So.
All right. Well, we definitely want to take everything we talked about in consideration. I mean, we can all brainstorm, come up with some ideas, and have a follow-up meeting. Definitely, I'd like to get you guys down there to see the marina and see some of the summertime business. I know that when you're talking about the gas sales this summer, there was a parking issue, and I went down there to see Steve, and he couldn't even pull 2 minutes away from the gas stop to even talk to me. And actually, that goes into something that I'm going to talk about later to try to help them. We've also got the improvements to the living shoreline with the new ramp that's going to go in down across from Price's, and Gene Roberts is going to become the water filtration thing that's no longer going to be a parking lot. One thing I would like to do to help for the economic development is try to attract more bass boaters to the city for tournaments. I mean, we get some now. We don't get the big tournaments like they do over in Northeast. It brings a ton of money into the city. I was talking, Bill and I met with some friends of ours that do regular bass tournaments, and they said the biggest thing that Havre Grace lacks is when they get off the boat, this nice hot day and everything, they get a penalty if their fish is dead. So over in Northeast, they have these little holding tanks or small tanks that can't be that expensive. We can probably get grants for them. But eventually we're going to try to push all the bass boaters towards the Water Street property. And if we were to host large tournaments, we could use overflow parking at the community center and change the route of the trolley back and forth to relay people back and forth. But that's something I'd like to talk to Tim and Steve about. Once that project starts getting underway, about the holding tanks for the bass fishermen for their weekends. But
Jim, last year, I don't know if you were the chair, but we went through that big one that we were supposed to, okay? And they moved it down to, I guess it was Bush River or wherever down there.
Yeah, for a couple of reasons.
And we only had a lot of problems down there, parking, the whole 9 yards. But we accommodated them. Remember, we were going to lay out the parking lot to accommodate everything they wanted to do. And it didn't happen. And there was a reason why it didn't happen. It wasn't our fault. So, we've been very, very accommodating to if you guys look at the numbers that Steve's got with now the last couple of years haven't been all that great, especially 2 years ago with all the trash that was in the water. But this year's been the best of the last three. And the bass boaters, I think we accommodate them pretty well, and they have cooperated. Steve has gotten them to the point where they will try to help take care of their people so they don't run over the guests in the park. And am I correct, Steve?
Yeah, they have the bigger groups still have parking attendants almost to help the guys get the boat in and out as quickly as possible. But my biggest thing is always them milling around or sitting in the ramp or stopping right as soon as they pull out. And then we get a traffic jam up, up the road out of the park.
I think
Well,
everybody
there-
gets that.
Steve Lay will know at 5:30 in the morning, then putting in, he's coming down the
But
hill.
they're paying $10 a launch, and
Yeah.
that's the maximum that we can charge
Yeah.
according to the state.
Yes.
Am I correct
Yes,
in that?
that's correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Is it,
We can't
it's
control it.
interesting, the only other marina we found that charged for a ramp was $40 a launch.
It's private.
Private. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we can't do
Yeah,
that.
because we take, grant money we built that last ramp. Well, Steve Gamatori will tell you, that was a pretty big project and we took grant money for that. So you have to, for access to the water and everything. So you have to have standardized, just like everything else
makes
that
all
you
the
take a grant
sense in the
for.
world.
Now, other state launches I've used, you can get a sticker for it for your trailer that gives you so many launches. Is it possible for us to have a sticker system? Pay
Well,
$100.
We've looked into that for years, and it's not viable at all for the city park to do that.
we actually will start losing money if we start putting those out. Only thing we have like that is the senior pass, and it's
Why
for
do we
senior
have that?
citizens. It's $50 for the year, so it's a
But,
pretty
I
darn
mean,
good deal.
If we're
Used to
allowed
be
to have
free.
that, the senior pass, but we can't have other passes, I don't understand why specifically. Is the DNR law? I mean, does it state that we can do
Yeah,
senior
and
passes?
You can petition them. You can request. I could request $20 for a launch. Not saying that they would go for it, but you have to go through the correct channels and then submit your pricing to
The
them.
DNR requirements for boat launches, and this is what we're learning from the Water Street project, is the amount of money isn't the issue. It's that everybody should be charged the same amount of money. So I don't know if the senior pass, my question, when I heard that, I wasn't sure whether, this is Tim Whitty, I wasn't sure whether or not the senior pass is actually legal.
That was my next question.
Right.
Yeah.
Because we're being told that everybody pays the same amount. There is no, that's what was, when I signed this for the grant, for the Water Street grant, to build that ramp at Water Street, I had to sign an affidavit or whatever that everybody was being charged the same amount of money. That there was no senior pass, there wasn't, everybody was, whatever the rate was that we were going to charge, everybody pays it. So I'm not quite sure that senior pass is actually legal. When I left there, I've never questioned it or anything like that, but I'm not sure. So
That's a really good question, Jim.
yeah, I don't think I walked away thinking that ain't legal, but nobody's caught on to it. But that's just that was my view of it. So that leaves, but there's no, whatever amount of money you want to charge is fine, as long as everybody pays that same amount of money. So
My thought process on the stickers.
No, that's wrong.
What?
No, you can only
Okay.
charge so much. You can't just charge anything you want as long as everybody pays the same. State says, DNR says you can only charge $10.
But you can
I'm
request to
just
raise it.
well,
unless it's
I'm
privately owned.
just telling you, excuse me, I'm just telling you what was told to me, that everybody had to pay the same rate. That's all I'm telling you. Is I'm not arguing about my point being is that the senior pass is not, I'm not getting into the numbers. I'm just telling you that I didn't sign an affidavit that said it had to be $10. I signed an affidavit that said everybody pays the same. That's all I'm telling you.
That's right,
So
Tim.
I'm not going to get into the nitty gritty of it, but I'm just telling you what I signed.
If they tell us we can only charge $10, then you're right. I mean, that's the way it's going to be.
All right. Well, let's close this part of it. It's already 8 o'clock. Like I said, we'll take it into consideration. I'll go ahead and let Paul and Warren take off if they want to. Gentlemen, thank you so much for coming in. And
Thanks very much.
Really appreciate it.
Really appreciate
Thanks,
it.
I'll follow up with you guys. And then if you want to come back and discuss it again in the future, you're more than welcome.
Hey,
Okay,
hey, you,
thank-
you guys. Hey, you two gentlemen over there. I invite you to come down, and I will be more than glad to walk around with you and answer your questions and
Bruce,
try to help you to
Bruce,
understand.
we'll take you up on it.
Well,
Warren?
I've been in the Marina 65 years. Okay.
Yeah.
I've had a boat in there 65 years. So I think I can show you some pictures of things before you were probably born.
They're on tin type.
No,
I
Warren?
no, I invite you. I really, I'm serious. I invite you. I'm serious as a heart attack. Really, I'd
we'll
be more
take
than
you up
glad.
on the invitation.
Well, I'll
We'll
bring the
take you
beer.
up on the invitation, but you're not going to be before I was born.
I don't know. You don't know how old I am.
Well, I don't know. I'm 75, so I'm 10 years longer than you were in that boat.
No, I'm going to be 75, Bucko.
There you go.
There you
Warren?
go. Okay.
Thanks,
Go.
gentlemen.
Hey, Tim.
Could I have your phone number? Would you mind if I gave you a call? I had a question about economic development and the promenade.
Sure. Easiest is 443
443.
528
Okay.
7929.
Yeah, it sounds like there's two issues here that you guys are trying to work on, and I have a question about one of the issues.
Okay.
What time do you go to bed at night?
Uh,
I won't call
John,
you.
why you're asked that?
usually around 11, but
Okay, well, I'm up till 12:30, 1 o'clock, so I won't call you later.
I do want it noted. It is John's birthday today.
oh,
Happy birthday,
Yes.
Mr. Narvell.
Nice.
John.
78.
Yeah, and he's got us both beat on the age there.
And I've been down to Marina since 67.
Yeah.
And my wife's been down there all her life.
This year I graduated from college.
78, okay.
I
No,
wasn't even born yet.
67.
I just
I
got
was
out
born
of
in 78.
service. Just got out of the service in 67. Well, thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate you
All right, guys.
looking
Thank you
into
very
this.
much.
Thank you. You've been very kind to hear us out. Take good care.
Doesn't cost
Thank you, sir.
anything to listen, does it?
Well,
Take
I
care.
don't know. Take care.
All right. Give me just a moment here.
Hang on, Jim. I still got to get out of here.
Yes, sir.
Oh, should be out. Zoom.
Oh.
Am I out, Jim?
No, sir.
Gosh.
You got to click upper right-hand corner, I think, leave
Yeah, I
meeting.
did. I hit leave. I don't know why I've hit it twice now. Come back in.
Adam, can you remove him?
Yeah,
It's
Mr.
showing
Hartstein,
me. All right, I'll show.
There he
There we
is.
go.
That
All
did
right,
it.
so I'd like to caution everybody. I know some people are upset and some people are interested, but we are recorded live, so hold your conversation. So where was I? Okay. Mr. Whitty, if you could give us just a quick update on the fuel tanks. Tim, you there?
he's still on the.
Okay, I'm here. I'm sorry, I
Hey.
muted off. The fuel tanks contract was awarded to F&H Consultings. We met with them about 2 weeks ago on a field visit. That project is in design. We were looking at removing both tanks and installing a combined tank, but due to the cost and the nature, it just wasn't going to work. So we're going to go back to two separate tanks, which is one is a diesel and one is gas. The reason for the replacement is the insurance companies are saying that the tanks have exceeded their life expectancy, and that they will no longer be insuring those tanks in the next year. So we're moving ahead with that design. And while we're at it, the dispensers are old, so we're going to replace both dispensers and the fuel lines, gas fuel lines to the tank. Those tanks and fuel and dispensers will meet the new standards, MDE standards for fuel dispensing. We'll also be upgrading while we're there too. We're going to upgrade the deck. And so that whole project is under design. The deck work will be done in-house, but the whole project's under design. The goal here is to have this permitted by February and then start construction in the spring for the installation of the tanks. It should probably be that. It's probably going to be, I would say, typical tank installation, line installation, probably about maybe 2 months, maybe 3 at the most. Thinking more or less 2 months, get everything to, weather bolting and get that installation and get that moving and get that finished. There is money set aside. We actually did a budget transfer to move that money in place. So that's all been funded. There's plenty of money to address the construction. We do have adequate funding based on the construction estimates to be able to do that. The other thing we're doing this winter is we're going to be doing I'm getting with Joe to release an RFP to replace the water lines under the decks. It's that plastic pipe, black plastic pipe. It's starting to burn, it's breaking. And so we're going to get that replaced as well.
Bless you, Tim. Bless you, bless you, bless you.
Thank you.
So that's going to be, I was going to
I'll say it for you, Steve. Bless you.
Saves me a lot of cuss words, that's for sure.
So we're going to send in an RFP. I thought about doing it internally, but it's not. We're going to go ahead and contract it out. And then one of the things too is we did move and we had to put in a preliminary paperwork for the grant for the dredging. Unfortunately, I guess we had that dredged about 2 years ago, and the soils are just falling back in place. So there's a lot of sediment that's passing through the dam that maybe 10, 20 years ago it was being trapped behind there, and now it's going through, and we're seeing a rate of sedimentation of the docks and at an increased rate than ever before. So we did put in for a grant this time for $850,000, about $100,000 to cover the engineering, and then another $800,000 because we feel that this time not only are we going to do and I'm not a boat guy, but I'm going to say the main lanes, but we're also doing the slips as well, which weren't done the first time. So we figured the increased cost of that. And paramount to that too is I have to find a place to put that sediment. So I'm working, the DMP site at Swan Harbor Farms is pretty much packed at capacity. So I'm looking at using the soils there at that DMP site at Swan Harbor to be used for the living shoreline. And so hopefully I'll be able to kill 2 birds with 1 stone with that. That soil is analyzed by Underwood as we speak for the Living Shoreline project to see whether it's suitable for that project. If not, someone told me, and I have to follow up on it, that they're actually looking for sediment. They're out in the Chesapeake Bay. They're restoring those barrier islands, and apparently there's another project out there that's being undertaken by the state of Maryland for a restoration project as to whether or not they would be interested in taking that sediment. So I've got to that was just told to me today. So I'm going to try to do a little bit of investigation and see if that's a possibility as well. If the Underwood and the Living Shoreline doesn't come to fruition. So got a lot of things. We're going to try to get that done. That's going to be dredging's going to be in the next, we're thinking probably in the next year or so, we're going to go back in there and dredge. And then we did talk about, I know, that we did allude to the Water Street project. That project for the ramp is actually in review. It's publicly in review now for the permit. And the project is you have to advertise publicly for comment, and that's in that comment phase right now. So we're moving through. That's all going to be grant funded, and that'll probably take some pressure off the ramp and maybe ease up that parking for the boaters that we're talking about, the slip holders. When we get that project done, the parking and everything else that's associated with that boat ramp. So that's kind of where we're at right now
Awesome.
as far as the capital project on that.
Hey, Tim, it's Bruce here. Really enjoy you coming into our meetings because you know what's going on. Not that nobody else does, but it's nice to get your vision of, you know what we're trying to do and what is actually, in progress. So I really appreciate you coming to this meeting. I really do.
I certainly enjoy it. It's an interesting, it's a very well-used facility. We certainly see a lot of traffic on the weekends. And I've just felt that, one of the issues really is, unfortunately, it's the Tidewater really, the Marina really has a restrictive parking. And I think by opening up this Water Street Marina, it'll by offering two facilities, I think it'll make the operation and maybe the amenities that we're talking about as far as the people who are slip holders having parking places and things like that, will probably make things a little better in that perspective. I am actually looking too. I actually looked at that parking lot, and we're going to try to. I'm going to try to get kind of get that resurfaced. If I can come up with some additional money, I might. I'm looking at some different options of resurfacing that parking lot.
Which parking lot is that?
Marina.
The parking
okay,
lot.
the Marina. Okay.
By the boat ramps to redo
Okay.
that parking lot. It's just in really bad shape, and I talked to Steve about it, and I'm coming up with just to see if I can come up with some extra money to kind of resurface the parking lot there and restripe it. So, but I'm just short a little bit of pavement funds right now, and so I've got to kind of. If I do come up with something at the end of the year, I'll see what I can do. I guess is what I'm trying to say. Maybe maybe by June of next year, if I have some extra money, I might put it towards that. So.
All right. Thank you, Tim. That's awesome.
Appreciate it.
Hey,
Sure.
can I speak one more time here, Tim? I
Sure.
invite you down to my house. I swear. And I would love to give you the 29-cent tour on a day when things are going on down there, so you can get the real skinny from a person who's lived there for 53 years on just the real deal. And I'm not making anything up. I'm not complaining, but I think I've got a lot I can share with you. That's all.
I'd like that opportunity to meet with you and go over that, because I certainly, I think Steve does a great job, and my duties, unfortunately, I probably don't spend as much time. Steve does a great job down there, and I'm not much of a boat person, so I probably would be interested in taking you up on it, because I really don't, boating and those type of things aren't in my, sort of in my vocabulary, I guess. And I certainly would like to get your point of view of what you think should be done down there as far as improvements and additional improvements, and what you would like to see there certainly would be of interest to me.
Well, it's not just the boating, but just what really goes on down there. Let's say, I'm not even talking about the boating. I'm just talking about the traffic and how the families, when they come with their kids down Strawberry. And I mean, really, I could give you a whole, a really good, you look at it and you could make your own decision on what you see, but I can show you what really goes on down there, and you'll see what's true and what isn't true. Not just about the marina. I'm talking about the park, everything down there, the whole area down there.
Certainly. I'll take you up on it. Certainly.
I'm serious as a heart attack. Really, really.
I will. I'll give you a holler.
Please do.
Will do.
All right.
The chief of police knows where I live.
Is that a good thing?
Well, yes, especially when you live down there after all the carnivals I've been through. She knows exactly where I live. A little humor there, a little humor.
Yeah, boy, here in a second. All right, moving right along. Next, we're going to have a discussion on the boat ramp envelopes. Now, I don't know why. I'm guessing it's because of COVID, but the envelopes there, they don't have flaps on them. Do you know why?
Yeah, we
Steve?
cut them off. We want people licking them.
So I was talking to Steve. I was like, well, we got like $800,000 in the budget. What we could probably get some peel and stick, but then you got to deal with the trash of the stick thing. But
Exactly. There is
Yeah.
peel and strip envelopes. I use those. Those end up all over the parking lot.
so what I want to do, and I've talked to Steve about this, because I went down there and it's like, write your information on the envelope, put the money in the envelope, seal it, and put it in there. And I'm like, well, how the hell do I seal this envelope? And Lapidum, they have the envelope where you put the money in there and you fold it over and you tear
Yeah, the
the
state
tab off.
park. Yeah, the
Yeah,
state park system.
So Steve was going to look into getting similar envelopes like that for us, but and that moves right into my next part. I'm really interested in doing a card swipe station that prints out a one of the slips you put on your dash, like when you park down in the city. I know that when I don't carry cash anymore.
So you're saying for like after hours? Is that what you're saying? Like
we can use it after hours. You can
thing?
use it during hours.
Right.
I know how busy you get during the summer.
Yeah.
I think that would save some time for you, and save a lot of hassle. Might convince people to pay more. I know that.
Right.
Like I was down there the opening day duck season back in October, I guess.
That's
and
usually the biggest non-paying day.
Exactly.
Of
And
the
I'm watching, and I think I watched 8 boats come down, go straight down to the marina, and launch, park, and get in their boat and leave. And
Right.
and I'm not saying that you weren't doing your job. I'm saying that these people they just don't care. They think it's just a marina. We're going to come here like job.
Right.
I can go to Mariner Point and not have to pay, but if we could come up with a system, and I think that like going back to me carrying cash, I don't carry cash, and I have to stop at 7-Eleven, grab $10 just to have for the launch fee. But if we could do something like we do in the city, and I think we could probably get grants from the state for this, or tie it into our Living Shoreline thing for the other boat ramp as well. People can go down there, swipe a card, it gives you the piece of paper, and you put that piece of paper on your dash, and you have the sign right next to it saying that if you don't pay, you're going to get flagged for your MVA. And right now it says up to $1,000 fine. It's only $25, right?
Yeah,
I think we need to raise that fine. And I think we can municipally raise that fine. But, that would reduce some of the issues like we have down at Gene Roberts, where the homeless people were taking coat hangers with gum on it and sticking it down there and fishing the money out of the drop box.
Yeah, until all that was cleared out underneath the bridge, that all
Yep.
stopped. But that went on too long.
Yeah.
I wasn't very thrilled with that. But yeah, that's
So Bill is for it.
No.
Steve Gamatori is not necessarily for it. However, I can get it probably in the budget for next year, or look into moving that way, as long as the rest of the commission is on board. We do have a quorum, and I want to run that past you if you want me to present this to council as something we'd like to look into.
You're not talking about a gate system or anything.
Conjunction with what we do now?
We could have them where they walk right up and pay directly, but you can also just completely skip the house. It would reduce some of the traffic down there around the building, and keep people down there at the launch. When you launch, you swipe your card, you get that paper, and you put it on your dash. I think that would increase compliance, and it would reduce the workload for Steve. And and I know Steve's required to have somebody, what is it, twice per day to walk through there and check them. You know, the police don't patrol. The police don't patrol, and there's no reason why the police shouldn't be patrolling for that.
Yeah.
It's just like parking on the street. You know, there's certain areas where they might enforce parking for, you know, the 15-minute parking right there in front of Gulls. Okay.
Right.
You mean like trailers with no tags?
I knew you were doing that, Bruce.
Well, that's one of the problems. I know that the parking lot isn't necessarily on our purview, but it greatly impacts our marina, you know, from the bulkhead out, if we don't have proper enforcement from the police department in that parking lot.
Right.
That's one reason why I went down there this summer, and the one guy in that truck was taking up 7 spots. You know, that reduced the ability for, you know, everybody else to park, and it really hemmed a lot of people up down there. But if the commission is willing, I'd like to approach council about getting this in the budget for kiosks where people can swipe and pay for their boat launch fee down there at the park.
But we ought to be able to pay. I mean, as long as we get their blessing, we ought to be able to pay for that out of the Marina Fund. I mean, that's the big deal.
Well, I guess it would have to come out of the Marina Fund, wouldn't it? But we could put that in
I
the
mean, how
budget
much-
for the Marina Fund.
Listen,
You have to get a budget transfer. Just go to George with it, with the amount of money, and then he does a budget transfer and moves it around.
Sure.
Yeah. Mhm.
That's pocket change.
All right.
All right, Bruce.
So is everybody in agreement? Can I get a yay vote from everybody?
Yay.
I would like to look into it.
Steve Lay?
I like to look into it, but I don't want it as the only option.
No, I wouldn't want it as the only option too. I would still like them if they felt the need to come to the dock house. But that would also reduce the after hours drop box and the issues there. You know, people congregating there or low lighting, trying to fill out the paperwork at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Well, you could try it for one season and see how it works. You know, if everything works fine, you know, maybe the next year you don't need to do it, or maybe you need to keep it. You know, it's not going to fix itself right straight off. You know,
Potentially it could pay for itself over years.
That's what I was thinking, is if it increases the compliance, especially, I don't know exactly what the setup's going to be down at Hutchins Park, or Gene Roberts, sorry. When
I would
go ahead.
This is Tim. I would probably say we're probably going to need a system like that on Water Street, actually.
That's what I'm saying.
We probably would need that. Yeah, that's where we definitely would need that, because we're not going to be able to man that. We're going to require that to be something like that would work better down there. Yes. I think that would be an option.
What kind of money are we talking about?
Huh?
What kind of money are we talking about?
I looked into the some, and the one that I actually saw is actually used by the National Park Service as well, and it was like $10,000 a machine. But I know there's cheaper ones there. That was the only one I found that actually had the prices listed online. What I did on the research I found was several municipalities had switched over this way, and they had seen an increase in their revenue from that. And there was one that they touted where it's completely solar. They don't even have to run electricity to it. So it has its own power bank and runs that way. So I would do the research, try to find the information, and then approach council with that, or try to get the budget transfer for that, if that's something we want to do.
Well, you started going
That
around
would
the
be
table.
using your credit card or debit card.
Yeah, and I believe we'd want to get one where you can use cash as well. So if you got a $10 bill to put in there, you can do that, or swipe your card. All right. So I'm going to take this as tacit approval. I'm going to go on with this and try to get the approval and the budget transfer for it. All right. So next one, old business. Do we have any old business?
No.
No old business?
You know why that is? You know why there's no old business?
Because you handle everything, Bruce.
because we're good and we've been doing this for quite some time.
I know you are.
Not me, not me.
You know, the
So
word
what-
is the word is deja vu, because the same thing keeps coming up every 10, 15, 20 years.
Yeah.
Same exact things.
John, thank you. You're the only one that's been there close to me. It's long.
All right.
Oh.
So, hearing no other old business, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Sounds
The motion
good.
that we adjourn the meeting.
So
Thank you,
moved and
Jim,
seconded.
for putting this
Glenn?
together. Yeah.
All
And
right.
Tim, thank you for coming.
Yeah, thanks, everyone.
No problem.
And thank
No
you to
problem.
Adam for modding the forum for us.